Hello Sim Gamers, we're continuing our series featuring Cities Skylines 2. After founding New Hatton Island, the city is operating at a deficit, relying on government subsidies to make up the budget shortfall. We need to balance the budget for the long-term success of our growing population. So before I say let's get started, remember to watch until the end for beauty shots from this episode. Consider leaving a like if you're enjoying the series and leave a comment. If you're not sure what to say, use the dollar emoji for engagement. With that, let's get started. Hello Sim Gamers, we are back with some Let's Play Cities Skylines 2. And in this episode, we have a couple of problems we need to address. The most important of which is that we are running in a deficit balance. With access to budgets, we can actually take a look at some of the reasons why this is the case. The first is we are receiving some government subsidies, and that is the major portion of our city's income. So that's a problem we want to solve. We want to try to make this city more self-sufficient. Upkeeps for existing services obviously being the most largest category that we're running. And we're bringing in some services from external sources. So those are some areas we can look at improving. We don't have any loans, so we don't have any loan interest. From the supply side, there are two ways we can tackle this, or two tools we can use in our toolbox to help tackle this. The first one is our tax rates, and in Cities Skylines 2, we can be much more aggressive with the tax rates than people were comfortable with and successful with in Cities Skylines 1. The other side of that coin is to be able to produce our own services rather than buy them externally. The natural thing to take a look at is producing our own energy. We do know that a small coal power plant for $70,000 a month of upkeep produces 20 megawatts. So that's basically $7,000 worth of upkeep per megawatt. If we take a look at other options, we have a gas power plant, which has $265,000 monthly upkeep for 250 megawatts, which is, we can call it, knock off some zeros here, $63,000 for 25 megawatts. If I round up for easier math, 65 divided by 5 is like what? 13? So it's $13,000 per 5 megawatts, which is a little bit better than the coal mine. But we need to upgrade a node to get there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that in the development tree. The gas power plant is right here. It's accessible early. If you have some open spaces that aren't going to be overtaken by your development on various edges of the map, getting into geothermal is a very, very good way to go. But if we take a look at our map, we don't really have that luxury. I mean, we could do it down here, but like, we're going to be filling this entire island with our personnel. If I spend 4 map icons, I could put up a geothermal out over here. And that is kind of an interesting prospect. But I have a feeling we're going to be wanting to use these map tiles to develop the island itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just place our plan to place our electrical footprint right here. The first step in doing so is going ahead and unlocking our gas power plant. We'll unlock that and start finding its footprint. We can expand it out later if we find ourselves in that situation. I'm going to go ahead and pause time because we're going to be denying people electricity for a moment while we put this in place. And that should do. Any expansions we build can hang off of this side pretty easily. One thing I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and, well, no, I'm not going to do this just yet. I'm going to see what the numbers look like with this running as is. We can increase efficiency later. So this is additional upkeep, but it uses less gas, requiring fewer imports to run. But its upkeep is 80,000 a month, and I don't know if that's going to contribute to our profitability or not. So we now have power coming back on throughout the city. We apologize for the disturbance in power distribution, but our current capacity is simply not up to the demands of our growing city. That is no longer the case. We now have our own power source on island. And one of the areas we're going to be looking at is how that magnifies our service trade. Because we're running such a big deficit, we're getting large amounts of government subsidies, but that should change over time. The other area that we can start doing to balance our budget, right, is in taxation. So I'm actually going to crank everything up to 15% to start with. And that not quite doubles our estimated tax income. Now in City of Skylines 1, that would have been the death of your city right there. 50% tax rate, forget it, your city's folding. But now we're in a situation to actually continue expanding our city. People are really looking for a place to live. As the sun comes up, allowing us to see, you'll notice that our budget is taking a beating throughout this time that I waited. So that's something that we definitely have to work on. Okay. Now with the sun shadow, we can actually see the road contours and shade lines and stuff that we're working with here. So expansion of our industrial area means I want to go ahead and just make sure I have a level pad about like this. I can smooth that out. And we're expanding down this way. What I think I'm going to do for my commercial districts is actually I'm going to backfill in this direction. And maybe sort of, as necessary, put a buffer around here. Because we don't have much more need for industrial, and we can start expanding up this in direction for industrial. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and buy that tile right now, just so I have it available. Which means, realistically, we can start curving residential resources around this direction. But up here in the core of the city, people are asking for more density. So we're going to provide that to them in the actual city core. We're going to start off by loading up row housing on the back side of this right here. Oops. And also here. So I'm intentionally leaving these ends unzoned. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want all these row houses to construct to be entering and exiting the street along Orchard Street. So that takes care of our medium intensity housing needs, probably for a while. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and wrap around this way. Looks like demand is growing quite robustly for more commercial property. And I know exactly where I can start placing those. We do have these handy cross streets here that are going to obviously generate a lot of traffic. So filling in along here seems like it should be good. And we can do that on most of our streets and areas. And along the way, we've managed to make it to milestone 3, large village. This is one of our major milestones. Congratulations, things are looking good. Additional $800,000 into our war chest. 3 more development points. 5 more parcel permit unlocks. Our loan limit has gone up. Our service budget is now available for the first time. We have some specialized area farming that's potentially available. Fire and rescue and police administration is now something that we need to start worrying about. As additional... Actually, no, I'm sorry. The Grand Village is the next major milestone, the major milestone we're after. But these are additional services that we now need to start thinking about taking care of within our city. But first, in order to prevent our city from just absolutely collapsing on itself right away, we are going to go ahead and put down a firehouse. And we have this whole area that we've set aside. Actually, this area would be just as good. We have quite a few areas that we've set aside that don't have any uses mapped to them just yet. So as you can see, pretty much anywhere I choose is going to be fine. I think I might want to keep this for parks and stuff. So let's go ahead and put a firehouse down right here. Or do I want to have this be available for commercial? We'll park it behind this commercial complex potentially. Building upgrades for this are on footprint upgrades, so we don't need to worry about the size of that changing. And we will need a police station somewhere. If I put it downtown, how about we do this instead? We put the firehouse right here. Or right here. I think that'll work. And then we can put our police department here, right? Giving us a nice 6x6 right next to it to still use, yes. So our budget still hasn't balanced. We're running a 15% tax bracket, but now we have access to a new panel that we didn't have before, which is our services panel. If we take a look at our services, we can find what the most expensive services are and sort of deal with those first. Electricity is currently generating a profit, and we want to keep that profit going. Our major cost is healthcare and death care. So if we bring this right down to say, let's try 60%, we can take a look at our info panel to find out the impact of that on our town. And it's sort of deep in the orange as far as actual availability and how long it will take things to respond. But I think that's what we're going to have to work with right now as we work towards balancing our budget. So if we take a look at our overall budget, those two changes have made a huge whack towards balancing our budget overall. Another avenue we have is to sort of micro adjust our tax brackets. And any changes on the uneducated is going to have a very, very small impact on our bottom line. But if we do a commensurate change to the higher educated tax brackets, then we end up having a much bigger change on our bottom line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, the next most expensive service that we still have available is police administration. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease this to, I'm going to decrease it to 50% and see what that does to our bottom line. So that means we're going to have very few patrol cars going around. Looks like our average crime probability is still pretty low. And that'll be fine for now, until such time as we're actually able to get this budget balanced. Fire and rescue is already turned down. Or no, it isn't. This isn't going to have as much of an impact on our bottom line. The next most expensive thing that we have is water and sewage. So what's that look like at the moment? We could stand to turn down water and sewage just a little bit. Let's try 80% and see how that treats us as far as water and sewage availability. And I'm okay with that. We're under $1,000 per hour spend of export. And we should be in a situation where we can sort of take care of the rest of that as we expand the city out further. Remember earlier when I said I wanted to turn this grid and I forgot to do so? We're going to go ahead and correct that right now. I apologize to the citizens, but we are dezoning all of this. This comment comes from Dennis Zvezdov regarding background music in Sailwind. Having an optional soundtrack would be a nice addition to this beautiful game. This applies to Cities Skylines 2 as well. When I'm not recording for the channel, I enjoy the Cities Skylines 2 radio stations, as they often convey important information about the health of my growing city. Thanks for the comment, Dennis. As I'm looking for areas for more commercial availability, I'm going to start filling in a couple of neighborhood places. I'm just going to help them along by cranking out the bulldozer. Should do that for our medium housing as well, medium density housing as well. And if we look on the lower right-hand side of the screen, congratulations, Sim Gamers. We have finally gotten ourselves to a growing city with a balanced budget. And it's from here that we're going to pause and start working on future considerations, such as tackling the lack of education throughout the city and other services that we need to have. Until then, I'm Sim Gamer, and this has been City Skylines 2.